Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 34 of Goodbye Bullshit, Hello Happiness. And I'm so happy that I have Angelique here with us today. She is a very special client, friend, person, whatever you want to call it. She's just all around amazing, has done a lot of great stuff. And she is the founder of OURLOOP, and she has a chapter in a book coming out, a multi-author book coming out soon as well that she's going to talk about. But the main thing that we want to talk about today is the fact that being perfect and always doing and running after stuff, it's not going to help. And it's another way to run away from yourself and what's happening inside. So we're going to talk about what it takes. So I'm going to ask you, Angelique, the question I ask everybody. What bullshit have you said goodbye to get to this
Oh,
place? And I'm so proud of you. I mean, like, you guys don't know. I wish we could record our sessions because it was more like wrestling matches in there. I felt like, okay, let me put my sleeves up and get in there. Let's get go. So it
and I
was
thought it was pretty easy
awesome.
going.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And one of the people that I love, she's like, I would send out crying, and it was like, this is so great.
It's so
So
funny. On the outside, I may have this cool, calm demeanor, but on the inside, it's just so much brewing and fire and everything. And you were wrestling with that.
yes,
you
yes,
were you weren't wrestling with the cool, calm angel. You were wrestling with, okay,
yes. I was
what is
like,
this
bring
girl
the
suppressing?
inside stuff. The ones I see the inside. Bring it out, Angelique. Bring
Yes,
it
and
out.
girl, you brought it out so many times to me, and I thank you. Thank you for that energy and creating that safe space for us to talk through. It's been amazing, and it's been amazingly transformational. I could tell you now, this year, last year, this time, I would never imagine myself being the person that I am today, doing what I'm doing, with so much ease and grace and compassion. So again, I attribute that some of that to you. So thank you, Tusa.
Thank you, thank you. But really, I'm really proud of you because it was an amazing journey, and I do want you to share the bullshit that you had to say goodbye to, all the stuff that you went inside, and what a journey that was for you.
Sure.
Because a lot of people, I think, they seek out healers and help and meditation tools and books and everything, as another way of running away from what's happening
Mhm.
inside. It's not a magic pill that you take, or people call me, like, again, like, last minute, I need to come see you, it's an emergency, I need an emergency session today or tomorrow, this weekend. And these are new clients, it's not old clients
Yeah.
too, and the new clients, and I'm like, it doesn't work that way. This is not a magic pill that you're going to come and say woo 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 and all those things be gone.
Yeah.
And you really magnificent journey, and it was such a pleasure. And I think you can share some of that experience with the people out there to know that it does take going inside, and what it took for you, really, that bullshit that we say you had to say goodbye
Exactly.
to get here. So I'll pass on the baton.
No pun intended.
Yes, yes,
We instantly
exactly.
connected because you're a runner as well. So
Yes,
instant
yes.
connection. Um, so that's interesting. How do I begin? You mentioned just a few seconds ago, people go out searching and seeking, reading books, doing journals, doing this, that, third, pie. I mean, you name it. I was even doing it, especially coming off of exactly a year ago. My father passed away shortly thereafter. endured a couple other losses, a heartbreak, and then I found myself losing myself. So it was a series of losses, and it was a very quiet place, and I didn't know how to sit with that stillness. I did not know. So just like you mentioned, people go out searching and looking, and like there's got to be a cure. There's a time limit to this, right? There's a time limit to this.
Exactly.
And I looked up and I read 30 books in a matter of like 2 months. It was obscure. And what I was doing was perpetuating that notion that I wasn't doing enough. You know, I felt that with different people that entered into my life, into the workplace, relationships that I had, whether it was through family or through boyfriends or whatever. So, I was perpetuating that notion that I was not good enough. And then I want to say that's the bullshit that I got rid of. Is like, who am I proving myself to? Damn it, am I like still proving myself to myself? And that's what I really had to let go of. And it was not a aha moment. It didn't just happen on a Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon while watching TV. It just took time, and it was a process to go through that. And the process included, being able to identify and sit with my feelings, knowing that I am not my feelings, that I am not a mistake, that, things happen. But what are my feelings saying to me? Also, again, there is a lot to be said in the stillness, in the pause, in the stop. You told me to stop a few times. I'm like, but you're like, stop it.
Yeah. I remember telling you, I want you to
Yes.
stop everything. You're not to read books. You're not to run. You're not to do this. You're not to do that. I want you to stop. Because that's the point, that there's so many people that don't even realize they have so many different ways to run away from themselves and hide in those areas. And
Mhm.
they sometimes do it well under the umbrella of it's self-love or self-healing or self-help, but it's really not. Some of it may be, but there's a lot of it you have to distinguish, what is it really in the healing, what is it that I'm going in there to hide.
Right.
And you and I talked about the running for myself, even, that was my to go place, to hide and not to look at things. But I love what you said, that it takes stillness,
Mhm.
and be willing to sit with that, all those stuff that all the feelings that you're not enough, all the places that you feel you're not enough, and you're trying to prove yourself. And beautifully said at the end is like, who am I trying to prove myself to? Is it somebody out there? Is it myself?
Yeah.
And I also want you to talk about, because I know, you and I have talked about this, but how tough that stillness was for you, and, what it took you to get through that journey, which I think it's beautiful and a lot of people don't realize, because that's something that I know when I was going through my own healing process, it's not pretty.
It's very ugly.
Yes.
But there's
There's a
beauty
beauty in the
in that
ugliness.
too.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's it's that whole notion that the lotus grows from the mud.
Hmm.
And I think there's a book called No Mud, No Lotus, matter of fact. And there's beauty that
Hmm.
emerges when you're kind of in the muck,
Hmm.
when you're in that dissipated state, when there is there's lessons to be learned, and when you
Hmm.
learn that lesson, you bloom. That's the
Yes,
only way I can
yes,
describe that.
yes.
And the lotus is one of the most beautiful flowers out there, besides cherry blossoms and orchids. I'm not biased, but it's a gorgeous flower, and it's even more beautiful when you know that it blooms out of the mud.
It is. And it brings about your true gratitude and true
Yes.
love. I think with that, when you are able to experience and sit with all of that,
Yeah.
and really embrace it and be present for yourself and be present for that muck and all that's coming up. And as you're coming up and blooming, it really, it's unexplainable, that feeling of gratitude and love and appreciation at that point that you experience. I mean, it's totally different if
Beautiful.
you measure like that gratitude and love that you had before and after. It's just like, to me, there's no comparison.
There's absolutely none. And you think you're going through a rough space, or you're like, why me? I don't get it. Everything's falling apart. But again, in that stillness, when you take a little bit of a step back, create that space to allow the message to come through, to allow the lesson to come through, to understand that that person or that situation presented itself for a reason. What is that reason? and there's beauty in that. I was also thinking, the whole concept of being enough, and I think this all ties in together. And seeking perfection, and who am I proving myself to? I'm a runner, and I don't even wear a watch. I don't even keep my pace anymore. I'm so in tune with my body and my breathing and my pace that I know, like, okay, I'm running about an 8-minute mile or a 9-minute mile, or okay, this is an easy breezy run. So we're just going to go out there and Forrest Gump it and just run. So just kind of being so in tune with yourself that you don't have to keep measuring it and keep proving that I'm getting faster. Sure, there are metrics. Sure, there are KPIs, and we keep a scorecard every so often just so you could kind of track progress. But I don't think that's how we measure success, or how we should measure success.
No. And she's also one of the unicorns, one of the holistic unicorns. So I just wanted to mention that. And there was a lot of posts on there that we get into these situations where we're talking about success and failures, and we're so afraid of failing, and keep pointing to the past failures as if they're saying what the future is. And I know I always say to people, switch it. Don't look at it as failure. Look at it as falling. Look at it as necessary part of the journey. That it helps you change perspective. It helps you, and sometimes that part that you've fallen, it gives you that opportunity to be still, to see yourself, to change things, reevaluate.
And even while you're falling, you may go from one elevation down to the next. Sometimes you need that elevation, which is a perception change. So you're changing the perception as you're falling. And that's how you can make a detour. That's where you learn a lesson. That's where you kind of say, okay, it's time to pivot. And then you start elevating up again.
Exactly.
It's different levels of perception. It's not a failure.
Exactly. There is no failure. It's only falling, and it's change in perspective, and really rest and relaxation and being still. And so what is your advice to people? Because I know I say this and I keep repeating, especially with what is going on out in the world today. Everybody's sort of getting in a place of, some people hopelessness, some people's like, oh, we can't change it, we can't change the world, or everybody's looking at outside, well, how people are behaving. This thing that I saw last night, my son told me about this Will Smith thing, and there's like all these comments that were coming up. I'm like, instead of like going, like I always say, instead of pointing out, let's point it in. And how am I contributing to this energy that's the world I'm living in, and this world that we're all living in, we're all co-creating. And that change, everybody, that change that you want, we are the change, you are the change. Go inside. So what is your advice for people to go inside and change?
Okay, so gosh, how much time do we have?
I know.
So what's interesting is that you brought up, that whole, debacle. But what is even more interesting is when you read the comments section.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah. Okay. Read comments, because this is what I'm about to say this. In the comment sections are people's perceptions, their past experiences, their projections, their insecurities, their fears. So what they are commenting on, or how they are commenting, or their viewpoint is actually their projection. Okay. We get people's projections all the time. All the time. And sometimes we set expectations, and it circles back to that whole perfectionist. Like, who am I showing up for? Am I showing up to somebody's projection? Am I showing up to somebody's insecurity? Am I like overextending myself because someone projected something onto me, and it's this unachievable level of expectation?
Yes.
And so that's some more bullshit that you gotta like toss to the side and just say, okay, that person is really just projecting. Now sit with them for a moment. Maybe you learn something. Maybe it's a new perspective. Again, maybe they're telling you something from another perspective so that you could say, okay, how can I bring this back inwards? But you have to begin within.
True. Good one. Good one. Yeah.
And then
And
also,
I know, sorry, I just wanted to make a point of that. I loved how you said that, and that their projection and we react to it.
yeah.
And I always like to tell people to create that space, find that space, so you can distinguish. You have to, so you can see, is this mine or is this your projection? So, and once you have that space and but it does require that stillness, that willing to see and view. And so you can say, okay, this part is not mine, so I don't even need to do anything with this. And okay, this is mine. I'm reacting to this. So let me take this back inside and learn from it and see what is it that inside of me that's reacting to this. And if you have nothing to react to, always distinguish like what's outside world, let it be theirs, and don't take it on inside, so you don't you don't have those trigger points. Yeah,
exactly. And reaction, that's a feeling. Why am I having these feelings? What did it trigger within me? And again, not to react in that moment. I hate Will Smith, but to cool out, create the space, say, okay, why am I reacting? And then give yourself grace and permission to come back to it later on. It doesn't have to happen instantaneously. And to
but even for him, I like to say, there is no judgment. I mean, we're all fallible as humans. Every human, we're all fallible.
Right.
And he had a moment, and he came and apologized, and it's like I had a moment. Exactly. I made a mistake. And what a beautiful way to say I made a mistake and ask for forgiveness. And again, if we're going to go judge everybody out there, again, point the finger back at yourself.
Exactly. I also say, there are three things that are inevitable in life. And it's always constant. One is death. Number two is taxes. And number three is change. The only thing that's permanent in life besides taxes and death is change. Change is permanent, meaning that it's always going to happen.
It's
and
always.
even from the beginning of this conversation to now, I think that I even changed a little bit. I may have said something to myself and I'm like, oh, wow, that really did hit. So even in these moments, in these small moments, it doesn't have to be anything big or grand or robust or like an epiphany or enlightenment. It could just be a simple little moment in a conversation that I'm having with my dear friend Otusa that, created a change within me or created a change within someone else. Talk about interconnection and, the syncing of energies. It's also the interconnection. So whatever energy that I'm giving out, you're giving out, maybe somebody will receive it in a very small way, in a very small dose, that may impact how they go back to work, that may impact how that person, their coworker, goes home, that impacts, okay, that kid got a good mom today, or a happy mom today, so they're going to do better in school. I mean, you see how this is happening. It's a chain reaction. It's an interconnection.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, not to switch subjects a little bit, but also to kind of you hit on success and purpose and things of that sort. And we started talking about that. Like, it's not necessarily a scorecard. Sure, we keep track of our progression, but I think of success in three different ways. One is purpose. And you mentioned earlier, like, people are just trying to find their way and their purpose, and they're kind of lost and things of that sort. And I really thought, like, purpose, people say passion, their life's mission, or many people will say, I don't know what my purpose is. I had to pause sometimes and say, okay, what is my purpose? In the stillness, I had to reevaluate what's my purpose. I want to also leave this note too, is, purpose equals your why. I think back, and, even in our sessions when we talk about, like, well, so how were you when you were a child? And I think we all could take away a little something from this. As children, like that 5 or 6-year-old, we ask our parents, but why? But why? But why? But why? And after a while, our parents are just like, hey, because I said so, or do as I say, not as I do. We all heard those things, but as children, we're asking why. Why equals purpose. And I think at a very young age, sometimes that kid hears why, or they ask why, and they're not receiving the why. Or the why becomes an expectation that a parent or a loved one or something else outside of them is saying, okay, this is the why, this is your purpose. So it's actually kind of fun to entertain those kids and dive deep into the whys with them. Because you're actually helping a generation discover their why. And hey, again, at the beginning of the conversation with that 5 or 6-year-old, you may discover something within yourself. Hell, you might find your purpose with a 6-year-old.
They do. The kids actually, they know. I feel like, especially the newer generation, they're so much more ahead. They have so much more to give, and the more we give them their power of that, they have the power. They know. I used to tell my son, I still do, that you know best.
Yes.
And even if I'm telling you something, it's from my perspective, because I can never be exactly where you're at and how you're seeing things.
Absolutely.
So if I tell you something, it's from my perspective, from my experience, from my own past and how I got here. And if you feel something in your own heart that tells you, no, I gotta do this, I gotta go this way, even if it makes me upset, you go and do it, because ultimately we're both going to end up in the same place. And I'm going to tell you, hey, dude, I'm sorry. I'm glad that you did it and you didn't listen to me. And I don't want you to listen to me and resent it, because, hey, I could have gone that way and I didn't. Because I think most of us, we forget that our power comes from knowing we have choice. We always have choice. And
have a choice.
Nobody can take that away from you. There's some choices we don't like to make because it's too difficult at times, but we always have choice. And I love that. Yes, purpose. And you touched on something else, that everybody, it's looking for something grand or big or something like, wow. And it doesn't need to be like that. Your purpose sometimes is just that I'd like to get up and put a smile on everybody's face. That can be something. I like to make people happy. I like to make myself happy. Whatever that is, as long as it's coming from your own heart, and it make that feeling of, there's a feeling that goes along with that. That's what I think everybody's purpose, the way to find it is going back again inside and in your heart,
It's going
and not
inside.
making that purpose be about like something outside of you and
Right.
making something into for the outside world.
It's
Um,
funny, in business development, one of my past lives, you know, in marketing and sales and working with clients, they say, well, I want to make money. I'm like, but why? And they're like, because I want to do. I'm like, but why? Like basically finding
what?
what's important to you.
Yeah.
And after, a few whys, we get into some open conversations. And within that open conversation comes the real reason. And I'm
Yeah.
like, lead with that reason.
Yeah.
Money will
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
you're trying to achieve, that's going to come. But achieve it because you're moving it heart center.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this is truly who you are, not what somebody else thinks you are, not a perception, not so you can get the shiny next whatever. It's because you truly, authentically, and that's one thing to success is being authentic. People
Mm-hmm.
like like someone who's authentic, who's themselves. We don't want to like meet someone and try to guess who they are today. Like just show up as you. I mean, you are your best person. And then
Yes.
with consistency. And I talked a little bit in an upcoming book that I'm collaborating with 17 other authors.
Nice.
And this is really, I look at this as like a debutante ball. Like I'm coming out, it's my sweet 16.
When
Because
is the book coming out and the title of
yes,
it?
like in 10 days on April 8th. I'm so excited. Again, a couple months ago, I would never imagine myself doing anything like this. Now I'm thinking, not thinking, but preparing for a solo project. And our loop evolved a little bit before the book, but it's evolved out of it. It's almost like a continuation of everything that I've done over my life. The between the running, between the philanthropic work, between education. I mean, our loop is grounded in creating a space for athletes to increase their representation in their respective areas, to serve underrepresented communities through their participation, through
Mm-hmm.
philanthropic activities, through volunteerism. Um, I'm very excited about this project because it's not only near and dear to me, it was also near and dear to my dad, too. He was a runner. He was a phenomenal 2:38 marathoner. Yes, he was top 100 in the Toronto Marathon. And he was out there smoking it. He was amazing, but yet he always found time for his children. He always found time to have those one-on-one connections with people. He found time to coach basketball, track, cross country, soccer, golf, you name the sport, he was coaching it. He got down to that level with the child and coached them through it. And he saw potential in every single person. And I want to say that legacy is continuing on with our loop. And I did talk a little bit about that. Um, it's an essay, so it's a chapter's worth. But I did talk about that, my relationship with my father, how I kind of silenced myself because I was still trying to find myself, and how I silenced myself, but it also, in the concept of invisible no more, stepping into the spotlight. I can't do that. I can't do and make an impact on anyone's life. I can't make an impact on my own life. I can't make an impact on my mom or my daughter's life if I'm silent, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
invisible, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't, shy myself away from the light. So I'm stepping out.
I'm
I'm
glad. I am proud of you, and I'm happy. I was so
Thank
happy
you.
that you decided to do the book, and you do have a great story to share and
Thank
a lot
you.
of lot to teach others. So I'm really happy about that. And Nicole said, absolutely starts with inner work. Thank you, Nicole. And
Oh,
Crystal said, so true, Angelique. So you already have a
Oh,
lot
thank
of
you.
support out there, and a lot of good things to share, a lot of people to guide. And our loop, later, it's coming out summer of
In the
2022. You're
summer, around
putting,
the
okay.
time that I do the Ugandan marathon. So I'll be going to Uganda to not only do a marathon, but to provide my services in volunteerism for a medical center for a week. Been working with the Ugandan committee as well as the UK constituents, and hopefully next year I won't be going alone in the US. I think I might be a US representative and taking a team with me. So I would love,
Nice.
again, it goes back to creating a space for athletes to be able to do what I do sometimes, but it's creating these enriching opportunities. I was blessed at a very young age to be able to travel around the U.S. through running, and I think that that opened, small town Toledo girl, up to the world of possibilities. It got me asking, well, why, and it just sparked an inquisitive mind within me, and I would love to afford those opportunities for others, and that's what our loop is about: is affording opportunities for folks. And I say, from young to old, because we're all, children within our own hearts. But to afford these opportunities for them to have enriching experiences, whereas, providing a service to an underrepresented community, just to kind of, not to end on this note, but again, I run all over the place. I run locally, I run in Iceland and Peru and London. And so I ran all over the place. And what I noticed is that these races take place in, beautiful towns, highly supported by the community. However, it's the areas that could use that economic impact that are not seeing the races. They're not seeing the funding. They're not seeing the resources that these races pull in. So that's why I'm going to Uganda. That's why I'm partnering with another group that sends shoes to Haiti. We do the Haiti Marathon, Honduras, Cuba. So it's going to these spaces where they could really use the resources, but I'm doing it in a way that brings a lot of heart and love to me, and that's through running.
So how can people support our loop? Are runners
Yes.
should be contacting
Everyone should.
you? Is it
Listen,
any
athletes,
sports?
because we are all weekend warriors, right? We are all
Okay.
weekend athletes. So anyone that wants to get behind the organization, it's ourloop.org. The website is coming out in the summer. The team is being built, and it's coming summer of 2022. I'm pretty excited. And again, a few months ago, I would never expect this to happen. It was really when I took a trip to Jamaica, was sitting on a plane, again, talk about stillness, that this all kind of came to fruition. And I want to say the ball has been rolling down like an avalanche. Since then, I want to say, like, when you put something out into the universe, it responds, and this is the response that I'm getting in a matter of months. So thank you.
I know. It came really, really all together. I was happy to be part of that process and see it all come
Yes.
through. And you guys, you need to check out our loop. You need to, not you need to, but check out our loop when it comes out. Be on the lookout. But in the meantime, if you want to get involved, you're an athlete, contact Angelique. She's tagged on whichever platform you're watching
Yes.
this, or get in touch with me. I'll put you in touch with her. And also, the book is coming out in April,
April
Invisible No
8th.
More. Yes. And a lot of good people on there that they're trying to not be invisible and shine their lights.
Oh,
Thank
Tiffany,
you
thank
so
you so
much.
much for this space and for being part of this journey. Like, girl, you were part of this journey and
Thank
this
you.
transformation. And I really, so much gratitude towards you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I'm grateful. Like I said, I guide, but you guys get to do all
Exactly.
the hard work. I just come in, wrestle, and point, and you got to still walk and sit it, and
You're my sparring
okay,
partner.
exactly.
Thank you for sparring with
I'm
me.
proud of you.
It made
I'm
me a
so,
stronger
so
fighter.
proud. You are definitely very strong and amazing. And I'm so proud of you. And I can't wait. I can't wait to hear about the marathon and all the other things that you're accomplishing out there.
Thank you so much.
Shine your light.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, everybody.